Road to the Final Four, Dallas, Texas, is underway on
ball.
CBS.
David Henderson. Allery off the baseline, and Duke takes the lead as Mark Allery picks up the first 2 points in the ballgame.
The Delta Devils starting man for man, trying to front the post. That won't bother Allery. He can go outdoors with that jump shot.
Coleman in the lane, down along the baseline. The jump shot good by Carl Curry, and the Delta Devils have caught Duke.
Down court pressure now, 2-2-1. I think more to slow Duke up than anything.
Allery bobbled it momentarily, but keeps control of the basketball. Back to Tommy Amaker it comes. Ivory defending Amaker. Henderson at the top of the circle. Mark Coleman out with him. Ball was tipped away and picked up by Mississippi Valley State. George Ivory up court with it. Ivory against Johnny Dawkins. To Coleman down in the paint. Wants the shot. Feeds the baseline instead. Eddie Bloodsaw back in front.
That's about as deliberate as we're going to see the Delta Devils get.
And a foul call down along the far sideline stripe. Mark Allery was whistled for the foul. It's his first, the first foul in the ballgame. We've got a 2-2 tie early here in Greensboro.
Duke, of course, winning the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship in this building on Sunday, having to get themselves back up for what isn't on paper much of a challenge, but it's a senior club.
Mark Coleman's turnaround jump shot misses. Tommy Amaker back up for Duke. Long jumper good. 4-2 Duke.
Soft down court pressure now by the Devils, to be sure not to hurry the other Devils. They're going for it.
Ivory in the lane, throws it up, and it's going to be a blocking foul. That goes against Jay Billis. First on Billis, second on Duke.
Well, when Ivory goes for the hoop, if you're going to throw the charge, you better get there quick. It did appear Billis did have his feet planted. If anything, a slight movement of the upper torso in at the end, but he really did have pretty good position, and he has to have it before Ivory leaves the floor. I thought he did.
George Ivory, 6 feet tall, a junior out of Jackson, Mississippi. He's an 80% free throw shooter, the best shooter on this Delta Devil ball club, averaging 16 points a game. Lafayette Stribling considers him his leader. Shot good. 2 points, George Ivory, and the game is tied at 4. And Mississippi State Valley putting pressure on Duke now.
And mixing it up as well. They went from the 2-2-1 to straight man that time. Caught the Blue Devils unaware.
Coleman, and a foul call down under as Carl Curry was caught pushing. Curry, not very big. He's 6'7" sophomore, very slender, and he was trying to move some of those bigger bodies around.
You're very kind. 6'7", 179, and he's stacked up in there with Billis, who goes 225, and that's a bit understated, I believe. That time he shoved Mark Allery. He's only 220. He's trying to pick on somebody his own size.
Look at this Mississippi Valley State club. Bloodsaw 6'5", Coleman 6'3". Those are the forwards.
Well, that makes their achievement to be here all the more remarkable.
Johnny Dawkins, first shot doesn't fall, taken out of there. Rebounded by Mac Ferguson. Bloodsaw wide open and drills it, and the Delta Devils take the lead.
Now, it's very hard to put a pressure defense on that. A rebound, a pass, a dribble, a shot. It doesn't matter what defense you're in. You're not going to be in it very long.
Mississippi Valley State very aggressive in that defense right now. Down in the lane, Allery with a jump hook. Can't get it. Dawkins is there. He's fouled. The bucket's going to count. Johnny Dawkins has 2, and he'll be on the free throw line. And the game is tied at 6.
Well, this is an offensive rebound you can't attribute to size. Good move inside now by Allery. Didn't quite get his shoulders squared. Soft off the front. A little sumo wrestling in there. Dawkins actually catches the ball with his feet on the floor, even though he is a very good leaper.
First foul on Mac Ferguson. Johnny Dawkins, one of the finalists for the Naismith Award that will be announced tonight. Picks up the free throw. He has 3. He's the ACC Player of the Year. What a brilliant career he's had at Duke.
If he doesn't win it, you have to wonder who can, and then you look around the country and see all the fine players. It's been a banner year.
Ivory from way outside with a miss. Henderson to Dawkins. Dawkins running at Coleman, and Ivory helps shut him down. Back to Henderson to Amaker. Wide open on the wing, and it's good. 4 points, Tommy Amaker.
Fred White, that was a clinic in the secondary break. The Delta Devils got back that time, took care of the numbers, evened them up, but Duke comes in very well with that secondary break and gets the jump shot.
Mac Ferguson simply dribbled the ball down the floor, down the lane, laid it up, and scored.
I'd like to see you chart that offense.
It's a real simple offense.
Yes.
A to B, B to the bucket. Alvarez foul. Teddy Bledsoe got him.
The guy who takes the ball out of bounds for the Delta Devils might as well be on sabbatical for that offensive set.
9-8 Duke.
Again, to the corner, underneath. Mallory with a migraine. Danny Ferry, highly touted freshman, filled a vital role. Some thought he had a disappointing year. Not so. He was with a senior club, and he filled the role that Mike Krzyzewski had to have filled, which is a passing, mobile, inside player. Started early in the year, gave way when Billis was well.
Outrage free throw. There's Lafayette's dribbling. Didn't you check his shoes?
Got to have a shot of those shoes, guys, in it, Chuck.
3 points for Allery.
We're talking gentleman's quarterly cover stuff here. Sartorial splendor, to say the least.
Coleman back to Ivory. Had a notion, didn't take the shot. Nice feed down to Bledsoe, and the shot is good. Teddy Bledsoe has 4 points, and the game is tied at 10. Got to be important for Mississippi Valley State, Bucky, to get off to this kind of a start.
Very definitely. They are talking confidence, but you got to know those kids read the papers too, and they're not given much of a chance. So this should help, but they're playing the nation's best, proven for today. You know how it is in college basketball, but for today, there's no question Duke is #1.
Veteran lineup with 4 1,000-point scores and 2 2,000-point scores in. Tip back up by Coleman. Mark Coleman waiting down in the lane at 6'3". Got the stick back, and the game is tied at 12.
This crowd is just not what they expected. I think they really expected to be almost in a parking lot at this point, except maybe if Duke started a little flat. I think Duke's starting very well, and I think Mississippi Valley State is likewise had a great start.
Picks off the pass. It'll be interesting. Well, what, 50 miles from the Duke campus, a long way from the Delta Devils campus, but if they stay with Duke for a while, to see how this crowd starts to react to it. Oh, what a move in the lane by Mac Ferguson. He has 4 points.
And that was about a 9-9 dive with a soft touch.
Mississippi Valley State goes in front at 14-12. Dawkins to Amaker. It's a very active team, this Delta Devil group.
They have to be at those sizes.
Very blocked by Curry. They try to shovel it back inside, and Mississippi Valley State has it. Coleman hands to Ivory.
You have to be careful not to overpass against Mississippi Valley State. Just get the ball on the board.
Right now, Parkway Oldsmobile.
Right hand. This team doesn't huddle either, Fred. They know what the play is. Get down and get it up quick. Duke crowd getting impatient now. Duke and Atlantic Coast Conference.
That's a charge. Mississippi State Valley gets the ball back with a 5-point lead.
Duke trying to get out of the congested middle, going down the sideline. No question there. According to the rules, you don't have to give that man a step. He had possession. Everything so far going for the Delta Devils.
Duke has turned it over 4 times. Ivory working the baseline. Strickland trying to shut him down. The ball's inside. Coleman with a soft hook, and he nails it. Mark Coleman, who's just 6'3", working down inside for his 7th point, and Mississippi Valley State is up by 7.
And they're 7 for 11 from the floor.
Tommy Amaker.
Duke is a healthy 6 for 8, and yet they're looking at a 7-point deficit. What's that tell you? They're being out-hustled.
Strickland might have gotten by with a walk. King along the baseline, blocked by Coleman. Up it comes to Ferguson. And the Delta Devils on the attack with a 7-point lead early here. 13:27 left in first half action. Bledsoe. Needing some help.
Any thought that Mississippi Valley State might be intimidated by the #1 Blue Devils should have been erased some time ago. They are for real.
Ivory needs help. Coleman tried to get it back to Ivory. Tipped away off the hands of Dawkins. Still belongs to Mississippi Valley State.
One more thing here, Fred. In case Joni Raftery just tuned in, her husband hasn't been kidnapped. He's supposed to be doing this game. Bill Raftery, he is healthy. He's just been fogged in, and maybe he'll be here by the second half. This is a poor substitute.
Teddy Bledsoe. Bucky Waters along with us here on very late notice, and happy to have him. George Ivory working against Dawkins. Ivory's going to come down the lane, and he's going to be called for a walk. Got a little bit excited, perhaps.
That's okay. Coach Dribbling can take a few of those mistakes. Those are mistakes of commission, not omission. A pensive Mike Krzyzewski. A marvelous turnaround for that man. 4 years ago, when this group of seniors were freshmen, he was eliminated from the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament by 43 points. Came back this year to win the regular season, win the tournament. A really good story for collegiate athletics.
Bloodsaw on King. Lost the handle. Curry grabs it in the lane, and it's out of bounds to Duke.
You did chart that play, didn't you? That's the old Statue of Liberty, but at 90 miles an hour. There is Coach Dribbling applauding his team. And well, he might.
He's got to love the effort he's seeing out of them here right now. You know, you're talking about Mike Krzyzewski and these seniors. It's nice to see them get the rewards for all they've gone through together at Duke.
Duke now scoreless in nearly 4 minutes.
Alvarez, oh, what a pass to Henderson. David Henderson open underneath the basket, and Alvarez threw him a fastball.
Boy, the thing that's impressive about the Delta Devils is they have shown us about 7 defenses. At full, at three-quarter, at half, and on the half-court basis. And so far, the Devils have not adjusted.
Bloodsaw's shot doesn't fall, and Duke beginning to pick it up now. Ferry rebounds, gives to Dawkins. Blue Devils down by 5. Dawkins, magnificent move in the lane, but the shot doesn't fall.
Some restraint that time.
Ferguson to Ivory. Dawkins defends Ivory. Ivory takes him in the circle to Bloodsaw. Excuse me, Ferguson. And a foul's going to go against Duke. Billy King.
The point we made at the top of the show, Duke's vaunted pressure defense, which it is. They take everybody out of everything with their quickness. But when you press a team like this that really isn't structured offensively, it basically is rolling with the flow, and as quick as they are, it's really tough to pressure them.
Turnover. The Delta Devils give it up. Duke gets it back, down by 5 with 11:33 left in the first half.
The turnover is catching up now. You can be assured the way the Delta Devils play, they're going to turn a few over, but they must with their size differential to be effective.
King down the lane. He's fouled by Teddy Bloodsaw. The Delta Devils did not win their conference during the regular season. They finished 3rd, but then they won the postseason conference tournament.
Good move down the middle. That's where Mississippi Valley State just cannot compromise. When the big bodies of Duke come down the middle, they're in trouble.
First man off the bench for Mississippi Valley State is a 5'7" senior from Solace, Mississippi, Nate Kilbert, who checks in. Southern University and Alcorn State tied for the Southwestern Athletic Conference regular season title at 11-3. Mississippi Valley State 20-10 on the year now, finished 10-4 in the conference. The King's free throw good. First point for the 6'6" sophomore. Very strong player off the bench for Mike Krzyzewski. King to Ferry along the baseline. Tough bucket for Danny Ferry. And now the Blue Devils starting to fight back. They're down by 2. Look, probably the big difference in the Duke club this year and last year is the play of Ferry and Billy King off the bench.
Yeah, and a healthy Henderson. He had a lot of problems physically last year, and he's a player most teams can't match up with. He can play strong forward, small forward, and he can play backcourt. He's almost a Havlicek. His relentless effort's like a waterfall. He just never quits, and it's hard to match up with him. You put a big guy on him, he plays guard.
Coleman tried to feed it to Curry on the baseline, taken away by Billy King, and here comes Duke with a chance to tie. Dawkins in the lane for the tie. Wow.
Some hang time, Fred White. He took off at the free throw line, just waited for everybody to clear out. And the difficult thing when you're up there hanging and going at that speed is to end up with a soft touch, but he does.
Off the baseline, an air ball. Ferry clears the rebound. King to the floor, to Dawkins. It's knocked loose again, and the ball belongs to Duke. So the Blue Devils now with a chance to grab the lead.
But it's been an interesting 10 minutes for him.
Tommy Amaker back in the ball game now for Duke. Billy King sits down.
Watching the Duke bench, it's been reserved. It's watching the action, and it's also been playing. It's 3 deep already into the bench.
Henderson's shot won't go, and it's out of bounds as it flies over the backboard. Watching Amaker and Dawkins in backcourt. Amaker, the only junior in the lineup with those 4 seniors. This is their 100th start together at the guards for Duke.
Well, and it's been well documented. They almost think alike. They're very solid. They are the best backcourt in the country. There's no question about that. There was talk about Georgia Tech with Price and Dalrymple, but it was shown clearly that if they took Price away from the ball, Dalrymple's a small forward. He's not a guard, and this is the finest backcourt. And playing together has only honed their skills.
Jake Gilbert, Bledsaw off the mark with it, and now the Delta Devils going a little bit cold from the field. Johnny Dawkins with pressure on him. Berry blocked out of there by Curry, picked up by Bledsaw to Ivory. He's got Coleman for the lob. They got it. Mark Coleman has 9.
Well, Danny Ferry went tiptoeing in there, took a look at that 6'3" guy, and went up with his short game and just about ate it.
It belongs to Mississippi Valley State with 9-11. It's interesting, Bucky. Watch Mark Coleman, great athletic ability, but at 6'3", he's operating totally down in the paint. You kind of expect him to take it down the wing and pop a little jumper here and there. He hasn't done it, and he's been effective.
I think anything you think that is normal, but this team may not be. They're an exceptional group of athletes, and as I say, problems defensively. They're not where you think they're going to be, and they get someplace else quicker than you think.
They're quick. Nice ball club. You saw that's their first appearance ever in NCAA tournament play. Both ball clubs shooting very well.
They had to have the good start.
Gilbert to Curry, the jumper short. Allery clears the rebound and is fouled. Mark Coleman whistled for the foul, his first. Bledsaw has 2. Coleman and Curry 1. Mac Ferguson has 2 for Mississippi Valley State. And Billy King has 2 for Duke.
Mississippi Valley State had got out to that 19-12 lead. Then they had 3 turnovers and 4 misses in a row. And when you do that against the nation's #1 team, they're going to come back on you quick.
There's the lob to Allery. Mark Allery picks up his 5th point of the afternoon, and we're tied at 21. This telecast is presented by authority of the NCAA, and any use of this program without written consent is prohibited. The announcers for this program have been approved and contracted by NCAA Productions.
Quinn Snyder threw an excellent pass. He's the 9th player off that Duke bench, and that kind of a rotation should take its toll positively for the Blue Devils in the later stages of the game.
The foul, the first on Tommy Amaker. Mark Coleman on the line. As we mentioned, a 6'3" senior from Jackson, Mississippi. One of the better ball handlers on this team, as we mentioned, playing that forward spot, misses the free throw. He also has 30 blocks this year. Mike Krzyzewski and his staff with some concern on the Duke bench.
How many teams have a 6'3" forward with 30 blocks? I'm telling you, this is a very interesting team.
Both free throws off the mark. Jay Billis clears the rebound. And the #1 ranked team in the country facing a stiff challenge from Mississippi Valley State here. Curry tipped it away, and it was off the hands of Henderson. Oh, we're seeing some great athletic ability here. Curry, the center.
Out there fighting a ball 40 feet from the basket on the sideline. Their rotations can only be described as daredevil. They just, you won't see them in any other coaching clinic. I mean, they just come from places you don't expect.
Coleman to Gilbert. Gilbert against Amaker. Now Bledsaw. The lob to Coleman. And Allery was there, but the jumper good. That was Carl Curry off the baseline, and he has 4.
Curry at 6'7" and 170. He turns sideways, and they lose him.
A travel. Duke does not get the bucket. They're also getting back on defense and shutting down any semblance of a Duke break right now.
Well, you make a very good observation, Fred, that everyone knew that the Delta Devils were good in transition going from defense to offense. But the thing that's impressed us is even though they're a little willy-nilly offensively, they get their floor balanced defensively and get back to protect. Duke is not a slow team.
Coleman against Allery at the top of the circle. Allery's quick. Coleman's quicker. Allery's bigger. Ball knocked loose, saved by Coleman, takes it into paint. Look at this. Shoveled it up and it wouldn't fall. But he got the shot off neatly. Snyder now for Duke. Henderson Tommy Amaker. Billis. Ball belongs to Duke with 7:01 left in the first half.
Billis just licking his chops. He looked over at Curry there, 179 pounds. Billis at 225 said, aha, I'm taking this one home. But the quickness of the perimeter defense for Mississippi Valley State down in there and created the loose ball.
Dawkins, Allery.
Billis must be tempted to go around kicking sand in all those skinny guys' faces. He looks like a Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Duke has had 2 16-game winning streaks this year. In fact, they're on one right now. They won 16 straight to start the year, then lost to North Carolina and Georgia Tech. Now they've won another 16 straight.
Fred, I'll tell you, if there's a concern about this team, the Duke team in the NCAA, they've been playing so well so long. They started in November beating St. John's in New York and Kansas in the NIT, and they just really haven't had any let-ups. They haven't had that one real clunker game. They lost a couple on the road at Georgia Tech and at North Carolina, but they just really haven't had that bad night.
Henderson now has a dozen. Coleman has it down inside. Shot good by Mark Coleman. 11 points for Coleman against the big front line of Duke.
It's like a magic show. When they go in there, those little green jerseys, and pop up for 2.
Billis at the baseline is fouled. Eddie Bledsaw got him. It's the 3rd foul on Bledsaw, and that could hurt Mississippi Valley State.
Not a deep team.
They're going to make the substitution quickly and get Bledsaw out of there. Joe McKinley, a 6'7" senior from Jackson, Mississippi, checks in. Bledsaw sits down. He has 3 fouls, 6:09 left in the first half. Jay Billis.
Excuse me, Fred. McKinley at 6'7", pretty good outside shooter. Mark Allery capping off sensational senior year.
Jay Billis at the free throw line. He's had problems on the line, just a 56% shooter.
Look at those arms.
Well, he's strong. 6'8".
When he grabs a ball, I think he's just going to dissolve. That's good rotation on that one.
Billis hits the second free throw. Now 25-24 Mississippi Valley State.
Well, I talked about McKinley's jump shot for the Delta Devils. They lose something definitely on the boards. Not a good rebounder for 6'7".
Ivory blocked by Snyder, but a foul call. Quinn Snyder draws a personal foul. His first. He's a freshman from Mercer Island, Washington.
Quinn Snyder very quick defensively, but today we're talking quick on quick. He's clearly beaten here. Goes up a little late, gets 4 on. Watch Danny Ferry here, number 35. Whoa, a little extra there.
Just a freshman, timid.
Oh, no, not. You know, the irony is if Duke can go all the way to the final game, they'll play 40 basketball games this year. So while he may have been a freshman when he started, Danny Ferry, after being through the Atlantic Coast Conference Wars, winning the preseason Big Apple NIT, he is no longer a freshman.
George Ivory now has 3 points. Duke has a chance to win more games than any college basketball team in history. Henderson trying to get the ball to Billis. It's off the hands of Coleman and out of bounds. Only 6 schools have ever won more than Duke's 32 now. Kentucky at 36 has won the most games ever. They did that back in 1948. And if Duke wins the national championship, they'll win more than that. There's Dawkins. Johnny Dawkins has 7.
And they also have a chance to win the NIT and the NCAA in 1 year. And it's been way back since, I guess, CCNY in the 40s since that happened. Of course, it's the preseason NIT, and there's a postseason as well. You can't possibly win both of those.
Ivory. Well, I tell you, if they do it, we owe it to them to bring back the NAIB and let them have a shot at that one, huh?
Yep, that's true.
Third 26-26 tie. Carl Curry is going to get a little breather here. He goes to the Mississippi Valley bench.
Amaker back in.
Tommy Amaker, the junior guard. You look at the seniors here for Duke. David Henderson from Drury, North Carolina, scored 1,500 points in his career. Jay Billis, 1,000. Mark Allery, 2,041. And Johnny Dawkins, the all-time leading scorer at Duke. Henderson now has 7 points. There has been one other lineup in the history of the ACC that had 2 2,000-point scorers, but nobody can find 4 1,000-point scorers in the same lineup.
Well, of course, the 4-year thing. You know, we kid about Roger Maris and the Asterisk and all that, but the fluctuation between 4 years, back to 3 years, back to 4 years, makes records a little difficult. They're not as pure as they once were.
Duke up by 2, 5:23 left in the first half. Mississippi Valley State falling behind here now by 2 points. They played very well to this point. Could be a big trip for them, Bucky, early though it is.
They got to stay close going down at the half.
Ivory got by Dawkins for a moment. Curry to Kilbert.
The great start will be for naught if they get blown out here at the end of this half.
There's a great bucket. Kilbert gets the basket. There's a foul called at the baseline. Mississippi Valley State gets it back. The great thing about that bucket was the McKinley came up and set a screen for Kilbert, and he went the other way. Watch what happened. Well, you can't see it here.
Well, it's a very unusual screening setup that they use. All white jerseys underneath. There's no chance for an offensive rebound. They call that foul on Villas.
That is the second foul on Villas. And this could be a big trip. It could be a 4-point trip. I said it could be an important trip for him. Could be a big trip for him. Coleman's just 1 for 4 on the line now, and Ferry clears the rebound. But the game is tied at 28. Ivory got a hand on it. It's out of bounds to Duke. Great thing about that pick, I started to say, McKinley said it, and then Kilbert went away from it. McKinley was all set in his stance, and his man went the other way.
Doesn't everybody? They don't do anything routine.
Villas, but it's intercepted by Coleman. He's got Ivory against Amaker. And Mississippi Valley State goes back in front. 4 points for Ivory. 2-point lead to the Delta Devils.
So far, Mississippi Valley State has neutralized the pressure defense. Duke can't catch up with it.
Foul called. Second foul on Carl Curry. Oh, they are active.
If they can keep it up for 40 minutes again, recalling that Duke has used this bench 4 deep and has rotated pretty well.
Danny Ferry, the 6'10 freshman from Annapolis, out of DeMatha High School, the high school player of the year last year. What credentials? His dad, Bob Ferry, the general manager of the Bullets. Timeout taken here now. 4:38 left in our first half. Duke is up a point over Mississippi Valley State.
Half court. But what has been effective for them have been the rotations, the traps that basically have kept the nation's #1 team off balance. And I don't think he can play a routine game.
5'7" Nate Kilbert with the basketball to Ivory. Ivory back to Kilbert. Kilbert got a screen in the lane from Coleman. And back out to Mark Coleman it comes.
Duke has doubled the Delta Devils in the rebound category, 14-7. Duke has 10 turnovers to only 6. And we thought the Delta Devils might be a little careless with the ball.
Ball kicked back outside. Carl Binder to Kilbert. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Ivory to Binder. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Coleman's in the lane. The shot blocked, but a foul called on Billy King. That's his 3rd. Lafayette Stribling walking in front of his bench.
This time, Mississippi Valley State showing some patience. Wide open post play inside. Watch Lafayette Stribling. There's the leader. We are here, Lafayette. And Duke knows it. A chance to tie.
Mark Coleman has been brilliant from the floor, has had his problems on the free throw line, but nails that one. And he's now 2 for 5 on the line with 12 points this afternoon. He's averaging 12 points a game, and he has them here. Also giving him 8 rebounds and 4 assists a game, and that's complete. Now he gets them both, and the Delta Devils go up by 1 over Duke with 3:54 left in the first half.
The only success Duke has had against this trap is going over the top.
Ivory had the steal, and he's called for a foul. First foul on Ivory. He had the ball from Danny Ferry going for the bucket.
Yes, and Danny Ferry right here should be passing over the smaller Delta Devils. If he puts the ball on the floor against this quickness, this is what's going to happen, or nearly. Look at that quickness. Danny Ferry handles the ball very well for his size, but a point guard against this quickness he is not.
Danny Ferry, an excellent passer also.
Oh, yeah. And see, what they're doing, though, Mississippi Valley State will go man full court and then trap. And obviously, when the trap comes, Ferry can pass right over the top. But when they go straight man, there's no one open, and they force him to put the ball on the floor. They know what they're doing. So far, Duke hasn't really figured out their pattern. There are no tendencies, as a matter of fact.
Mississippi Valley State Up by 1, 3:37 left in the first half. Pushing number 1 ranked Duke all the way throughout the first half here. Coleman down inside over Allery. A little too strong with it. Amaker has the rebound, and a foul is called.
Yeah, that was a little too strong. He had a 5-footer. He shot at 9 feet, and I know there's a divot in that glass. I don't think he knew Allery was that close to him. He turned around. Watch it. He turns around. He looks up Allery's nostrils. He got a piece of him, too. Cleaned Allery's sinuses and took about 2 inches of paint off the top of the square. That is not what you call a soft shot. Nothing funny there for Krzyzewski. He's not worried, but he's concerned.
Mike Krzyzewski named the ACC Coach of the Year. Dawkins is named the Player of the Year. Tommy Amaker on the free throw line. 556 career assists for this young man to go with 722 points.
Gracious.
Free throw doesn't fall. And a foul. That's going to go against Nate Kilbert. The 5'7" guy was down in there dueling with the 6'8" guy along the baseline.
Well, of course, the 6'8" guy brought the ball down to his belt and let the 5'7" guy in the game. The adage on offensive rebounding, keep that ball up high. Keep it up with your stick backs. For goodness sake, don't dribble it. If at all possible, don't bring it down below your shoulders. Get it right back up. Get fouled.
Mark Allery out of Brophy Prep in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Is that a nice release for a big man?
Playing in his 128th game at Duke. It's a lot of ball games.
It won't be the same seeing Duke play without that group. They've just been there so long, so many minutes, so many nights.
Get the feeling that 25 years down the road or so, they're going to bring this group of seniors back, this team back.
Well, they might. It'll depend if they can win the national championship. You know, Bill Foster had Jaminski and Banks and Denard, and they went to the final game. People tend to forget. It's what you do now.
Coleman, nice feed down along the baseline, and McKinley almost, or not McKinley, Carl Binder in his shot wouldn't fall. But he's fouled.
Mark Allery with a foul he did not want to commit. But give Mississippi Valley State credit. He could have taken a little jump shot there, but he took it right in, put pressure on the defense.
Well, Allery did commit the foul, but look how quickly he gets down to the baseline to try to shut the attack down. Carl Binder, a 6'2" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama.
And they list him at 6'2" as a forward center.
The Duke fans are on him. He got an air ball on a free throw attempt.
All these people, analysts. Now, that's my call. There are the things I'm supposed to spot.
Danny Ferry. Duke up by a point with a basketball. First time they've had the lead in the ball for a while. Allery to Ferry. Back to Allery. What a pass. Oh, what a pass. 3-point lead to Duke now as Mark Allery picks up his 9th point. 2:41 left in the first half. And another big trip for Mississippi Valley State.
Danny Ferry with a major league pass, diagonal right across a frozen rope. Boy, he sees and he delivers.
McKinley outside to Binder. Coleman against Ferry in the lane, twisting turnaround jump shot off the heel of the rim, and Ferry rebounds. Coleman giving up 7 inches in that matchup. Ball knocked loose, stolen. Coleman had a hand on it. Kilbert has it. The jumper good. Nate Kilbert picks up his 4th point, and Mississippi Valley State off the turnover back within 1 of Duke. 2 minutes left in the first half. Well, you've got to hand it to these Delta Devils.
Oh, their quickness. There's another rotation. Now they're back. They're packing it in underneath. They come out of the pressure. Again, just giving another adjustment for Duke.
Henderson open on the wing, drills it. He's having a shooting day. 10 points, David Henderson. 37-34 Duke. 1:34 left in the first half.
Look at Amaker put the pressure on out there. Ivory, not an easy man to press. And they screen you at inopportune times, too.
Coleman behind the back, down the baseline, and a shot good by Joe McKinley.
Are you kidding me? Tell me they're intimidated to be in the NCAA. I hear shades of sweet Georgia Brown. Watch this now. Coleman behind the back, catching the Duke team unawares. Nice little jumper from the baseline. They play run and leap, but they also have a little finesse.
1:14 left in first half action. Duke up by 1. Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke coach. Ferry to Williams. Weldon Williams on up to David Henderson. Back to Danny Ferry. Now David Henderson. Shot blocked from behind. Henderson saves it. Blocked again by McKinley that time. Coleman up to Ivory. Ivory's going to take it in, and he's fouled. Boy, this ball club doesn't have any quit in them. He has to like it.
Lafayette's dribbling, very pleased with this effort. We were talking about the strong finish. Watch Ivory put a Class A move on Snyder here. Quinn Snyder is very quick, and he just got faked right out of that too, and it just went right down the baseline, putting great pressure on the inside man. Ferry picked up the foul.
First foul on Danny Ferry, and George Ivory ties the game at 37. 6 points for George Ivory, a junior guard.
Duke shooting 67%, and here they are tied with less than a minute. In fact, they're down 1.
38-37. Delta Devils. Quinn Snyder.
This is the kind of stuff Cinderella stories are made of.
David Henderson breaks through the trap. Back to Quinn Snyder, and he double dribble. Mississippi Valley State can get the last shot of the half. 44 seconds left.
Let's see if they can hold at 44 without going into withdrawal, but they do have that opportunity. What's happening now, Fred, is there's a vivid display of what's happened by the changing defenses. Duke 12 turnovers, the Delta Devils 6. But this crowd now that's neutral for the other first-team round opponents is beginning to see a glimmer of hope for the Delta Devils, and they're picking up some crowd support.
Ivory got it down low, and Carl Binder hits the bucket. 3-point lead to Mississippi Valley State with 19 seconds left in the half. Dawkins in traffic, brings it out of there.
Only Dawkins could have gotten out of there. You see, they didn't hold it for the last shot, didn't you?
Oh, boy. 8 seconds left in the half. Dawkins alongside the circle on the rim, won't fall, and Mississippi Valley State's going to be up at halftime by 3. They throw it the length of the court. Lafayette's dribbling has a big decision to make to start the second half.
Well, Fred White, it was a foul that really personified the whole afternoon so far for Mississippi Valley State. Even with 3 fouls, it was a full extension dive for a pass, just all out. That's the way they played since the opening whistle, and it's been impressive.
Now the Devils come up with a steal, and Tommy Amaker commits a foul at the other end of the court.
You know, we talked about whether or not Duke was ready to play this game. They shot 58% in the first half. They out-rebounded the smaller Delta Devils 17-12. But the really key stat is the assist-turnover ratio, which tells you something about the flow of the game. Mississippi Valley State has an 8-5, 8 assists, 5 turnovers. Duke, on the other hand, with the best backcourt in the country, had 7 assists and 11 turnovers. Give credit to the quickness and the defense of that team, Mississippi Valley State. Remember that name.
Matt Ferguson with his second quick bucket, and the Delta Devils go up by 7 here. Interesting substitution. 6'7" Carl Curry drew his 4th foul. There's a foul on Mark Coleman. Guess who replaced him? 5'7" Nate Kilbert. They just gave up a foot.
Doesn't matter the way they jump. Watch this now. Does the charge come? Does the charge come before the foul? There is contact. There is a shot. And from the weak side, Mark Coleman was airborne, smothered the shot, but called for the foul. Lafayette's dribbling. The Delta Devil coach, a splendor in his white 3-piece suit, questioning whether or not there was a charge prior for the weak side help. Remember now, he's got the tie and the handkerchief and shoes to match, which you don't see ordinarily in NCAA tournaments. That man's a classy dresser.
3 points now for Jay Billis, and a 5-point lead to Mississippi Valley State. 19 minutes left in the basketball game.
Well, we would have said it's very important for them to get a good start as the underdog, and they've taken care of that already.
Nate Kilbert. Oh, look at the tip by Coleman. It wouldn't fall, but he backhanded it up there. And now Kilbert at midcourt fouls Tommy Amaker. The second foul on Nate Kilbert.
Let me tell you what I think is going to happen here today. I think Duke's going to eventually come back and win, and this building in mass is going to give the Delta Devils a standing ovation. I can't believe with their foul problems and Duke's depth that they can sustain this, but if they have already won respect.
Allery, shot no. Billis is there, back up and in. Jay Billis, he has 5. 44-41. Mississippi Valley State.
They're right back to even, Duke is, with a 3-point halftime deficit.
Gilbert against Dawkins. Foul on Jay Billis. That's his 3rd.
After the wars in the Atlantic Coast Conference, Billis is usually matched up with somebody that's close to his size. And many of his fouls today have been just of the kind where he sees that skinny body and feels like he can just go do it. And he underestimates the quickness of the Delta Devils, and they just get there a half a step ahead of you, and they're willing to take the pounding.
Look, you can just see around the country guys from the offices going out for a bite of lunch to watch some of this game on cable in a bar somewhere and saying, tell them I'll be a little late coming back. All the guys who've got Mississippi Valley State are going to stay and watch the second half now. Amaker up to Dawkins. Down inside. Billis taken away by Teddy Bledsaw to Nate Gilbert. It's a blocking foul on Tommy Amaker. It's his 3rd. Oh, did they get it up?
Boy, I'll tell you what, Duke better check their, if they have gold fillings, they better check them. Watch this. Oops, gone. Wallet, watch, gold fillings. It's green going the other way. Now watch Amaker. The crowd's upset with this call, but it appeared to me that Amaker was still moving. Watch now, the speed. Gilbert coming down on the fly. I thought Amaker was still moving slightly into the pad.
And you know what?
Peter Pavia of the Big East was in superb position to make the call.
What a king in for Duke. Among everything else that happened, Nate Gilbert gave that shot a chance to go. He got it up very softly. Free throw won't fall. Duke club free throwing well. Duke in the first half, 9 for 16. Mississippi Valley State, 8 for 14.
Billis Amaker now with 3 fouls for Duke. Amaker and Dawkins, so important. That great guard combination, so important to handling the unusual and super quick defensive rotations.
Mississippi Valley State now just 8 for 16. Bledsaw missed the steal attempt, and Henderson walked. The ball comes back to Mississippi Valley State. Delta Devils up by 3.
For those in school children who are studying World War II and have read about kamikaze pilots and really didn't understand what it was, watch the Delta Devils play defense. I mean, they take chances they're just absurd, and they're so quick and they're so surprising that they're paying off for them, and they don't care about their bodies. They throw them around like they have spares.
Ivory moving by King, and King hooked him, and that's number 3 on Billy King. Well, that's his 4th foul. He had 3 in the first half. That's number 4 on Billy King. People wondering if an upset like this can happen. Well, it happened in 1953 when Lebanon Valley beat Fordham in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's something comparable, but that's not 64 against number 1.
That's true.
There was one.
Ferguson. Oh, I don't believe it. The basket counts. It'll be a charge, but what a move Ferguson just made.
All right, you guys, Saturday afternoon horse game. Try this one. You missed the whirl that got him free on the side.
He made a spin dribble move coming out of there that got him open, and it's 46-41. Mississippi Valley State wins Snyder to Allery for the 10.
What was key about that attack, Fred White, was that Duke went right down the middle. They didn't get themselves trapped on the sideline. They high-wired it. 2 big men right to the throat, and that's what they've got to do to cut down the turnovers. You can overpass against this quickness. Get it on the board and pound them.
Ferguson against Henderson. Ivory against Snyder. Bledsaw open on the baseline. Short with a try. Snyder picks it off. And Duke. Henderson. In and out. Allery with a strong offensive rebound.
But they've got Duke playing helter-skelter.
Coleman in the lane is going to be called for holding. It's his 3rd foul. So now Bledsaw has 3. Coleman has 3. Curry has 4.
There's Henderson with a jumper on a pull-up, but they have Duke playing this transition game Mallory coming off there strong with it, and he gets out of there, clears it wisely. Because if you hold it, they'll strip you.
Lafayette Stripling has called a timeout with 16-16 left in the game. Mississippi Valley State up by 3 over Duke. Mississippi Valley State continues to hold that 3-point lead over Duke.
All 5 starters from Mississippi Valley State are, as you might expect, from Mississippi. I don't anticipate there's a major long-range recruiting budget there. These kids are playing with heart. That man, Lafayette Stripling, in the 3-piece white suit, has got to be proud, but he's got some concerns, and there they are. They are not deep to begin with. Serious foul problems. Duke has some foul problems, but the depth to absorb it.
Mississippi Valley State with 2 players from Alabama, Charlie Jones from Panola, and Carl Viner from Mobile. The rest of them all from Mississippi. Dawkins with a jump hook. No. Ferry tips it up and in. Tammy Ferry rising high to stick it back. Picks up his 5th point of the afternoon. Duke, on the other hand, roaming the nation. They recruit nationally as well as any team in Division I. Basket good.
Wow, that's
Ferguson.
surprising. Mississippi Valley State taking the ball right to the box uncontested. That was a sieve that time defensively.
Dawkins, basket's going to count. He's fouled. Johnny Dawkins, the one guy you would think that just may take the game over eventually. Johnny Dawkins.
Well, he can do it. I think it's one of the few times that he's played this year where there may be 2 or 3 guys as quick as he is out there. Look at that hang time and clutch. Gets it up there soft. Don't tell me Duke's not ready to play. Normally the mild-mannered Dawkins giving that fist in the air. And they know they're in a fight.
That's the 4th foul, incidentally, on Bledsaw. And Stripling's foul problems continue to mount. Now Bledsaw and Curry with 4, Coleman with 3. Free throw missed. Mississippi Valley State still up by 1, and look at Ferguson going to work. He has 10 points in the second half, 14 in the game.
10 in the second half and a perfect 5 for 5, and he's getting the ball at will down underneath.
Dawkins shut off at midcourt. Coleman helping Ivory. Allery to the top of the circle. Back to Quinn Snyder.
They really miss Amaker because against this confusing set of defenses, you need a brain out there.
Johnny Dawkins.
What Dawkins is doing right now is matching athletic talent against athletic talent. This is not a thinking man's game. This is alley cat.
There you see the clock. Time left in the game. Tip up, won't fall. Tipped again, and good. And that was 6-3. Mark Coleman that came out of the pack to get it.
Allery and Ferry flat-footed.
Mississippi Valley State up by 3. 14-30 left in the game, and a turnover. The Delta Devils get it back. Ivory way up court. Ferguson's there.
Duke needs a timeout. And this may be the toughest coaching job Mike Krzyzewski has had this year, without putting fear in his team, to get them to settle down and play. Right now they are playing what isn't their game.
A foul called, and that is number 4 on Mark Coleman. Now, hear this. The entire front line for Mississippi Valley State with 4 fouls. Bledsaw, Coleman, and Curry, and 14-10 left in the game.
Here's a replay. Duke on the move. There's the power move. Right now, with the foul problems of Mississippi Valley State, the one thing they cannot contend with is the power play right at the rim. They have foul problems and insufficient bodies. Everything they do that goes east and west in perimeter passing is playing right in the hands of the super quick Delta Devils.
Danny Ferry on the free throw line. Mark Coleman has to go to the bench, and that has to hurt Mississippi Valley State.
Yeah, but you know what you can expect them to do? Keep playing as wild and bizarre and as excited as they have from the first second. Ferguson 8 of 10 in the game. Perfect 5 for 5 in the second half.
Danny Ferry has 7 points. 3-point lead, Mississippi Valley State. Nate Gilbert in backcourt against Quinn Snyder. George Ivory.
Clearing the floor for Ivory.
Against Dawkins.
That's shootout at OK Corral, only you have a water pistol. Come on.
Joe McKinley. Maybe they'll run some clock. 17 seconds left on the shot clock. Off the baseline, Binder's shot won't fall. Ferry has the rebound.
They don't look good when they try to milk the clock and play patiently. It's just not their style. But they definitely have Duke running with them.
Quinn Snyder from the deep corner. King is there, and he's fouled. Ferguson.
Quinn Snyder launches it just perhaps a little out of his range, catches iron. And of course, the first instinct of Mississippi Valley State, if they don't get the rebound, they try to strip you, and they're getting caught. Ferguson did that time.
And that was the 4th foul on Mac Ferguson. So now 4 players have 4. Time has 15 points and 7 rebounds in this game. But listen, Teddy Bledsoe, Mark Coleman, Carl Curry, and Mac Ferguson all with 4 fouls with 13:24 left in this game. If you're Lafayette's dribbling, what can you do besides roll the dice now and say, hey, he's trying to protect him so far. He has him out of the game. Ferry gets a rebound up and in. Danny Ferry got the roll that time, and he has 9 points. 1-point lead to Mississippi Valley State with 13:14 to play. Charlie Jones, a freshman, getting set to come into the Mississippi Valley lineup. Lafayette's dribbling, trying to protect those guys with 4 fouls and keep them on the bench as long as he can. The question is, how long can he? Ferguson's still in there.
Well, as long as he's got a lead, I guess he feels he can do it.
McKinley off the baseline. Joe McKinley has 4, and the Delta Devils up by 3 with 12:48 to play. Steal. Ivory tried to feed it to the baseline. Snyder had it. He's trying to save it, and it's off of Ferguson, out of bounds, and it belongs to Duke. Snyder just made an excellent play.
Yeah, he is super quick. The Delta Devils running. Snyder saves a layup, keeps the ball in play, comes back in.
You know what? He went out of bounds and came back in.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did, but he got back in. I think they're saying he got back in and saved it before it hit that line.
Mallory. Danny Ferry.
So a long time with Amaker on the bench. The play that Snyder made, deflecting that sure layup by Delta Valley State, was the first turnover this half at 2 minutes and 12 minutes and 30 seconds into the second half, which shows the level of their game. Everyone knew they would play fast, play a little woolly. I think everyone expected them to be a little more careless with the ball than they are.
Mark Allery's free throw good. 11 points, Mark Allery. He's an 82% shooter. Among everything else, he does well. He shoots free throws extremely well. Economics major. He knows the value of a point. That one's off the front of the rim. Rebounded strongly out of there by Carl Binder.
Especially sharp in economics when he expects to be a first-round draft choice.
Yes. 2-point lead, Mississippi Valley State. Turnovers being forced by Mississippi Valley State.
Boy, they are.
Ivory against Snyder. Snyder shoots a pass across. McKinley short with a try. Henderson rebounds for Duke. The Devils up to Dawkins for the tie. In and out. Allery back up. In and out. Allery again. Game tied and a foul called. Duke could go in front. They simply gave him too many tries with that superior size along the front line.
And another thing is beginning to show. It was 3-1 on the board now. Whereas Mississippi Valley State was getting back, now it's a lot of white jerseys and bigger white jerseys on that offensive board. And the Devils now pounding home their advantage.
Foul number 3 on Carl Binder. Mike Krzyzewski seen his team trail Mississippi Valley State most of the day. Coming back now, Allery for the lead, and the Blue Devils go in front. 14 points for Allery. 57-56 Duke. 11:51 left in the game. Mississippi Valley State in serious foul problems. 4 of their starters have 4. Ivory to Gilbert to Ferguson, to McKinley rather. McKinley needs help. It's 5 seconds, closely guarded. Duke forces the turnover, and now the crowd getting into it.
Yeah, and I think Stribling's going to go to his bench now and get his players back in, regardless of foul situation. It's very obvious that when Mississippi Valley State cannot generate offense off the defense and they get caught in the half court, they're in trouble. He's going back with his best players now, take his chances with the foul situation.
Charlie Jones, a freshman, checks in. There's Allery.
Henderson threw that ball from midcourt right between two green jerseys for the layup. And Duke is now alive.
Lafayette Stribling just checked the clock. 11:15 left to play. He still has Coleman, Bledsoe, and Curry sitting on the bench. Nate Covert at 5'7" nails it off the baseline. He has 6, and Duke up by 1 now. The Blue Devils' biggest lead has been 5.
Amaker has to be careful of charging now. He's back in the game, but with 4.
Ah! Johnny Dawkins. We may be seeing the beginning of the end with Johnny Dawkins taking it over.
Watch this. The man has no spine. Look at this. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Joe
McKinley has got a garden hose for a spine.
Is that something?
Gracious. And not only that, with arms and legs in all directions, and for fear of landing, you know, flat on his back, he still gets it up soft. Now you think back to, as I told you earlier, I think Duke is going to survive this. And you think back the last few national championships, all of the winners have had games like this, where they had to endure and basically survive. They didn't win.
Nate Covert against Amaker. Dawkins now has 14 points. Coleman's back in the game. Quickly takes it to the bucket. Can't score. Curry saves it. Coleman again in the lane. Shovels it up. No. Tip it up. No. Ferry has it. Oh, what effort by Mark Coleman, and he just could not get the shot down. Listen to the Duke crowd starting to roar now. The Blue Devils trying to take command of the game, and there's a 5-second closely guarded. The Mississippi Valley State gets it back.
Duke had a chance to go beyond their biggest lead, which was 9-4 at 16:59 of the first half. They still have a 4-point lead, but I think that 5-second call is as a result of Amaker being just a little timid. Normally he would muscle push through that double team. He's concerned about that 5th foul, and well, he should be.
Covert to Mark Coleman. Coleman against Ferry. Jones, jumper no good. Danny Ferry clears the rebound. He was out on the floor defending, came back to get the board, and now here's Duke up by 4. Dawkins taking it over. Foul call. That's against Nate Covert.
What you saw there was the passing gear. And even though the Delta Devils have great quickness, there are few who can keep up with that stutter step and that explosion that Dawkins has off the dribble.
10 minutes, 2 seconds left in this game. Mississippi Valley State leading Duke most of the day, trying to fight off major foul problems in the second half, and Duke starting to get momentum. Johnny Dawkins now has 14 points, and now 15. He's one of the finalists for the Naismith Award that will be announced tonight. A 6'2" senior from Macklin High School.
This performance would certainly enhance his chances, but obviously the ballots are all in.
Dawkins with 9 second-half points now. Mark Coleman, 17th point for the 6'3" forward. 64-60 Duke, 9:38 left in the game. Amaker to Dawkins. Intended it for Allery, and Allery with a nice save down there. Amaker in the circle. Henderson alone. Gets a fake. Now the ball knocked out of there. Mississippi Valley State takes it away. Mark Coleman up on the dribble. Knocked down by Allery. Back comes Johnny Dawkins against Covert. And a foul against Covert.
The pace of this game, it's like, if I had a starch collar on, I probably would have cut my head off. It's like watching tennis. Quick fake. Henderson gets by 1, but the green quickness got him. And when you get that ball close to the floor, they think it's theirs.
George Ivory now returns to the Delta Devil lineup. 5'7" Nate Covert sits down. They call him 5'7". He looks taller than that to me.
I don't know. Maybe on tiptoes.
Maybe 5'7¼ anyway.
Well, but you look at that team, they're so small anyway. The coach is about 6'5", and he looks like a 7-footer. They are not a physically imposing team. but they have very big engines. The heart they displayed today, I'm telling you, they're going to get a marvelous ovation, and I don't think they're going to win this game.
Teddy Bledsoe returns down to the lineup. Duke up by 5, matching their biggest lead of the game. Dawkins now with 17. Look at Dawkins in the lane, tipped it up and got it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable play by Johnny Dawkins. His own free throw.
The franchise player is supposed to do that for you, and is he ever? Without Dawkins, this may have been a short tournament for Duke. His play today, inspiring, awesome.
Ivory nails it from the top of the circle. George Ivory has 9.
Yeah, and he's got Amaker's fingerprints on his forearm, too, and that would have been the 5th.
Johnny Dawkins alone in the circle. 21 for Dawkins.
I don't know if the Delta Devils have a boxing one in their arsenal, but it's time to think about it. They're being destroyed by a one-man wrecking crew.
Dawkins called for the foul as the ball comes inbounds. That's just his first foul. Just a couple of minutes ago, Bucky, we speculated when it was still tight that Dawkins may be the guy to take the game over, and he's certainly doing it right now.
Well, he's been doing it for 4 years. He wants it in the clutch. That man he's still coaching, and he's very much in this game. 7 points at 8:38 to go is nothing, especially the way these guys can score.
Mark Coleman fouled by Mark Allery, the third on Allery.
Dawkins 5 for 6 in the second half. 8 of 12 in the game.
How do you like Mark Coleman's athletic ability? He's amazing.
He can be anything he wants. Could be a cornerback. Of course, I think college basketball players are great athletes, but he even stands out among that crew. Olympic diver.
That is his 18th point of the afternoon. 8:34 left in the game. Duke up by 6. Aller with the rebound. Dawkins against Ivory. On up to Allery. Willis was down there, and Curry got a hand on it. It's out of bounds to Duke.
Curry back in the game at 6'8", number 4, only 179 pounds, but he really gives you problems at the end of that press. A cool, calm Mike Krzyzewski weathered this storm.
Allery caught it down low, but then lost it. Bledsoe had it, and it's out of bounds to Duke.
Don't bring the ball down anywhere near your hip pockets.
Allery to play it inbounds to Tommy Amaker. Dawkins walked. He output himself that time, I think. He's the only guy that can guard him.
Charles Watkins made the call for the Metro and the Southeast Conference. I tell you what, he has good eyes because Dawkins is so quick. I'm not sure who could see his feet. His feet are like a hummingbird's wings. You just got to say he can't do that without cheating. I got to call something.
Ivory's jump shot falls to the floor and picked up by Amaker. Nice save at the baseline by Henderson and a walk call against Amaker. 7:55 to play. Mississippi Valley State down by 6. Let's see if the Delta Devils have one more run in them.
Well, they've been out there, this group, except for the foul problems. They've been on the floor. Duke has rotated his bench very well, and this is where it should begin to take its toll.
But you got here Mark Coleman. They clear out. He goes against Allery, lays it up and scores. He's something.
They are making a Duke defense that has been given a lot of credit, justifiably so.
Allery scores.
Oh, yes.
They're going to take the bucket away. It's going to be a charge on Allery, no basket.
Let's look at it. Mark Allery with a full head of steam. Curry at 179 pounds gets there in time, says Peter Pavia. And that took some guts. Look at Curry. I gave my body, coach.
Timeout here, 7:39. Duke leading Mississippi in the huddle of a team that, if they lose today, is going to leave everything they got on the floor here in the Greensboro Coliseum.
Now, you talked about Lehigh Valley in the NCAA. There's a story back in Indiana basketball which puts every high school in the state tournament. And I think it was in the early 50s, a town by the name of Milan, Indiana, with about 35 boys in the school, beat Muncie Central with about 4,000 in the state final And that kind of a David and Goliath is the only thing I can think of that's even comparable to this, should it occur.
I'll give you another one. There's Mark Coleman. In 1952, Hebron, Illinois, with 89 students in a one-class tournament, 1-2. They beat Quincy. But they had a couple of guys named Judson that played at Illinois that were pretty good basketball players.
I don't want to play. Can you top this with you? You're really good.
Well, I happened to live there at the time. Not at Hebron, but in Illinois.
Well, that's the beauty of the open state tournaments that they have in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, places like that. And I really think the NCAA will go to that. I expect in a couple of years we'll see all the Division I teams in it with a shortened regular season. And I didn't like that idea at first. I do now. We don't have the best 64 teams in the country. But then here's number 64 giving number 1 all they want.
Johnny Dawkins, 23rd point. Duke up by 4. With 7 minutes, 3 seconds left in the game. Mississippi Valley State going down by 7 points, then fighting their way back to within 2. Curry in the circle, in and out. Loose ball battle won by David Henderson.
The Delta Devils do not appear tired.
Small towns. Henderson's hometown has a population of 90.
That's quite a story.
He is a story. Down inside it goes. Ferry was fouled. And now the foul outs are going to begin, I do believe.
Going to David Henderson, there was another player in North Carolina, Curtis Hunter, who was highly regarded, went to North Carolina, and Davis Henderson was sort of a backup. And what a marvelous player he's turned out to be.
Teddy Bledsaw becomes the first Mississippi Valley State player to foul out. Took a little glance over at the Duke bench when he came by. I feel a little bit sorry for Bledsaw. He was in foul trouble all day. Really never got to play in this game, Bucky.
Well, Danny Ferry, though, wisely shaping up inside, using his considerable bulk. Bledsaw with only 4 points. I'm sure if you talk to the coach.
Coleman fouls out for Mississippi Valley State with 1:26 left in the game, and a magnificent game he turned in today. 24 points for Mark Coleman. 1:26 left. Duke up by 5. And Coleman becomes the second Delta Devil and the third player to foul out of the game. Hey, listen to the ovation the Duke fans are giving him. Look at this.
Deserved.
I should think so.
This is, I hate to overstate it, but this is like one of those great things in sports that you see. Who would have expected this? And they're still within striking distance. 10 of 20 for the floor for the game, 9 rebounds. That's 6-3.
Phyllis, not a good free thrower, but nails that one. He has 6 points today. 3 for 4 on the line today, 56% on the year.
That's good, Fred. I'm always working with play-by-play guys that say he's hit 28 in a row, or he's a 92% free throw shooter, and we get a brick.
Someday a guy on the free throw line is going to turn to one of us and say, would you please shut up?
Yeah. hey, you big mouth, would you like to shoot this one? Still in the zone are the Devils.
We'll be back to Greensboro, but free throws to decide the game at Dayton, Jacksonville, and Temple. We've got a tie game, seconds to go. The Owls are on the line, and again, Mick Hubert has had to scratch and claw every centimeter of the way. Here's Fred White again.
Mississippi Valley State player to foul out, and again, he gets an ovation. Ferguson sits down with 18 points, 14 of them in the second half. 9 out of 13 from the floor with 3 rebounds. Into the lineup comes Charlie Jones, a 6'3" freshman. A minute left in this game. Duke up by 7. Tommy Amaker on the line. And now Bucky's intimidating me, so I won't tell you he's an 82% free throw shooter. How come that happens like that all the time?
I have no comment, Fred.
Charlie Jones, Curry, Nate Gilbert are going to have to score and score fast. Ivory trying to find a shot. Drills it from 30 feet, and it doesn't fall. Carl Curry's tip try won't go. It's out of bounds to Duke with 40 seconds to play. 83-76 Duke.
Looking back at the last NCAA champion, Villanova, their first round game at Dayton was a one-point affair, and they managed to just tiptoe through all of it to get to the finals. Duke will need 1 or 2 more like this if the form holds up, and if they in fact defend their #1 rating and become the national champions. They're going to be playing in some more close ones, but I doubt that they'll see quite as great an effort as they had against them today. A very much undermanned team gave it all they had.
There's Billis. Fakes, gets Curry off his feet, and Carl Curry fouls out of the ball game. He is the 4th Mississippi Valley State player to foul out. He'll sit down with 4 points. Duke about to win their 33rd game. And Bucky, in the long and illustrious history of ACC basketball, no team has ever won 33. How's that?
Well, of course, there are more games now. Frank McGuire's national champions in 1957 were 32-0 with more games in the tournaments, and the fact that if you play outside the continental United States, it doesn't count in the preseason NIT. But that's 30 and change is a lot of games to win. And the Roadrunner is out. Curry fouling out. That's 3 starters. It is over.
Billis will shoot 2. 17 seconds left in the game. Jay Billis, 6 for 7 on the line today. Now has 8 points.
Well, it's a good-looking stroke. It is. It's hard to imagine his statistics aren't better.
85-76 Duke, 14 seconds left. And I'm going to be intrigued to see the ovation Mississippi Valley State gets when this thing comes to an end. 8 seconds to play. The Delta Devils have done themselves proud here in round 1 in their first NCAA appearance today.